In this video, I'll be recreating this new Fern red style inside of Blender. You're gonna learn how to design the characters, build environment and lighting setup so you can achieve the same aesthetic style that got 1.3 million views. So, if you want to follow along, all useful links are going to be available in the description. Now, let's start. Okay, to make this scene, I'm going to be using Blender Kit a lot, so the link is in the description. You have the free plan with a lot of free high quality assets that you can just drag and drop into your Blender scene and are already textured and with the right size. But they also have this full plan that I highly recommend because it's super cheap compared to all the amount of assets you have and the speed in which you can just drag and drop all the files into your Blender setup. Honestly, since I started using this, I was able to build scenes a lot faster, so yeah, I highly recommend it. Then Fern, on his original video, probably used Character Creator. I will also link the link of that in the description. It's a character creation software that specializes on these realistic characters and gives you great results. But yeah, I don't have Character Creator. Instead, I have an alternative, which is the Human Generator add-on, which is specifically made for Blender, so I will also link that in the description. So yeah, in this tutorial I'm going to be using that, but just so you know, Fern actually used Character Creator. So here in Blender I'm just going to delete everything, and now here in the Blender Kit add-on I'm going to search for a table, round wooden table, and I'm going to look for one that matches what I'm looking for. Okay, I think the most similar one is this one, but we have to make a couple adjustments on the material because as you can see, this part right here is not wood. So what I'm going to do is press Shift S and cursor to selected, and then Shift A, mesh, and let's add a cylinder like this, and S seed. Okay, S, and let's try to match right here, and then S seed, G seed. I think this is good enough. Let me hide this and just delete this part right here. So let me press Ctrl A and apply scale, and now let's add a subdivision surface modifier and leave it at 1, and then shade smooth, and now go to edit mode and 2 and select these two edges, and then Ctrl B and just a little bevel right here just to make this part like this, and then maybe a loop cut and 3 loop cuts. And now let's add a wood material with the Blender Kit add-on. So I'm going to search for wood, and I think I like this one, so I'm just going to select it. And right now it's looking like this. We just have to go to the shader editor right here. Let me hide this, and then let's decrease this so it looks a bit better. Something like this. 0.7, and now I think it's looking better, and I'm going to leave the rest as it is. With the Blender Kit add-on, I'm going to add a wooden chair, and I'm going to select this one, which is the exact one they used on the documentary. So 7R and then -90 and then G, and somewhere right here. And now I'm going to change the pivot point from median point to 3D cursor, and I'm going to press Shift S and press cursor toward origin, and now all the transformations are going to happen from this point right here, from the 3D cursor. And this is useful because I want to duplicate this like this, Alt D and then R, and now I'm going to make this, and it's going to be easier, you know, put the chairs in the right place. Now I'm just going to change the pivot point again to median point, and what median point does is like it will scale from the pivot point, which is this orange dot on the mesh basically. Now I'm going to add a plane. Let's go to edit mode. Let's select this edge right here, pressing 2 first and then E and seed. And let's make a wall right here. There you go. And now let's add a solidify modifier just so this has a little bit of thickness. Now I think I want to position the camera right now, so I'm just going to put this right here, and then I'm going to press Shift A and add a camera like this, and then Control Alt 0 and add another view right here, and this is going to be my camera view. So I'm just going to uncheck the gizmo and the overlays and push this right here, and then go to camera properties, viewport display, increase the passport to 1. Then I'm going to go out of the camera view right here, and now I'm going to try to get this right. This chair should be like more rotated like this way maybe, and for now let's put this GX roughly right here, and let's see what that does. I'm going to add a character right now, and as I already told you, I'm going to use Human Gen add-on. So I'm just going to go here to the Human Gen and select a preset right here. I think I want this one, and generate new human. Now that it's generated, I'm going to isolate it, and also I forgot to send this cylinder to the round table right here, collection, and then the plane I'm going to leave it out of all the collections, and the camera I'm just going to give it a camera location, although we're just going to have just one camera. Now I'm going to go to material preview and start working on this character. I'm going to leave it as it is with this hair and all the stuff. I want to change the beard so it's looking similar to our character from the original video. So I'm just going to go to hair right here and face, and I'm going to select a full beard right here, and let's make this completely dark like this. I think this is good enough. Now I'm also going to give it some clothes, and I'm just going to use the clothes from the add-on, which are enough in this case. So I'm just going to select this one right here, and then for the footwear I think this one is good enough. And now I can just change the colors of these clothes easily with the add-on. So I'm just going to lower the saturation of all of them, and this part right here should be like darker, this dark like this, and then this right here, lower the saturation, and then make it dark like this. And now for the skin, we are going to go to the shader editor. This is super complex, but basically you just have to change the base color right here. So I'm going to press Shift A and add a mix color and put it right here. And now this is already gray. So what I want to do is like increase the factor right here to something like 0.9. And now we get this effect from the Fern video. Maybe here I also want to change the color of the eyes. So I'm going to go, to the skin right here, and then iris color, and let's just lower the saturation. And we are going to leave it like this, maybe like a darker tone, something like this, and then maybe add a color ramp here before the roughness, just so when we lower the value right here, as you can see, it's super noticeable that this is super shiny. So let's increase this dark value so it's not that shiny, and now we can modify this. So I guess like this is looking fine. Now another nice thing from this add-on is that this has like pre-made poses. So we can go to the library here and select the sitting poses, and then just select one that is best suited for us. So in this case, I think this one is good. We just have to go to pose mode and then A, and then go here to pose and paste pose flipped like this. So now it's looking to the right direction, and let's hide the hair. Hey guys, it's me from the future. What you're seeing right now is actually the first time of me trying to make this edit. So once I render the final animation, I saw some areas of improvement. So now I'm going to tell you the final improvements I made for the final render, specifically about the character. So if you are using human gen, you can increase how real characters look by going to this area right here and then skin. And if you go all the way down, you have a subsurface scattering. So I will put this on. And then regarding to the hair, so let's bring the hair right here. The normal setting is like not enough hair, and my character in the first try was looking like bald. So what you can do to increase like the density of this hair is going to the particles right here. And now you have these two particle systems right here. And to increase the density of this, you just have to go all the way down here to children. And you just need to increase the display amount here. So originally this was 100 and I increased it to 200. And then here on this other one, originally it was at 30 and I increased it to 60. So I doubled that, and at the end the result looked much better. So yeah, those are little improvements I made for the character specifically. And now let's put this character where it needs to be, like this. And now we need to improve the pose right here. So I just made the pose right here. I'm going to go back to the 3D viewport. And now I think the angle right here is looking pretty good. Or see it twice. And yeah, for now it's looking good. So now we need a window right here. So I'm just going to look for a window, and this is pretty similar to the one we want to use. So let's put it right here. Let's pick this empty and roughly right here, like this, and then G. Now I'm going to press Shift S and cursor to selected, and Shift A and cube, G seed and S, and now S seed. So basically what I want to do is create a cube that is the size of this window, because I want to cut a hole basically on this wall. So I'm going to apply scale right here. And now I'm going to move this cube to a new collection by pressing M, and let's call this booleans, although we are just going to have one boolean. And now let's select the wall right here. Let's go to modifiers and add a boolean modifier. And now let's select this object right here. And now let's hide this and see if it worked. And yeah, it worked. So we can go to this cube right here and go to object properties, and then viewport display and set it as bounds, so it's not bothering us right here. Hey guys, it's me again. Well, another improvement I made for the final edit was removing the glass right here entirely, because it was giving me some weird effects that I didn't want, and the scene just looked a lot better without the glass, and you wouldn't even notice that. So yeah, if you're recreating this, just remove the glass right here and your lighting is going to look much better, and all the effects. So yeah, back to the video. And now we need another person like through this window. So I'm just going to add that with the add-on right here. So I think this model is pretty similar. So I'm going to isolate this, and I'm going to work on the materials and the clothing just as I did for the previous character. Perfect, so now I made the character. I think the only thing that is left is making the texture for these walls. So let me check on the reference again. Well, I'm watching at the reference and it seems like it's just a basic material. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to add like a basic material and then I'm going to play with the base color in case we need it. I'm just going to check here on the chair, for example, because as you can see, it's colored and we don't want that. So I'm just going to go here to the shader editor. Let's enter this group right here. And before the base color, let's add a hue, saturation, and value node. And let's decrease the saturation. And I think this is good enough. Maybe let's add a brightness and contrast just to, oh sorry, instead of that, let's add a color ramp just to increase these black parts right here. Yeah, I like this a bit more. Now let me also add a cube right here, specifically right here before our character. Let's press Ctrl A and apply scale. Let's go to object. So first let's press M, new collection, and I'm going to name this volume. And now let's go to viewport display and bounce. And now here in the shader editor, I'm going to add a new material and call this fog. And I'm going to delete the principal BSTF and going to add a volume scatter node and plug it into the volume. Lower this to 0.005 and the anisotropy to 0.3, and let's see how that looks later. Oh, I also want to add, first I want to go to the camera right here and to the camera collection and go to empty and sphere, GC and S, and yeah, maybe I want this roughly right here. This is going to control the depth of field of the camera. So I'm going to activate it right now. Here, depth of field, and in the focus distance, I want this empty to be the target. And let's lower this to 1.4. Let's go to the world properties and reduce the strength of our world. And now I'm going to select the table, Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, light, and spotlight, yeah, or maybe area light, and put it roughly right here, and GX. Yeah, and I think something like this should be fine, and I want this to be white. And yeah, maybe let's also move this right here and like this, and let's see how that looks later. Let's also select this character, Shift S, cursor to selected, and then Shift A, light, and another area light. And let's put this roughly right here, and now this has to be red, somewhere right here. Now let's go to the render engine and change it to cycles and experimental GPU compute. Let's lower the samples for the viewport to 50 and activate denoise. And for the max samples here, I'll probably use like 300 just to be sure, and change this to optics. And then here on light paths, I'm going to increase the light paths for the volume because we have volume right here. Now let's go to color management and high contrast, and that should be it. Let's see how this is looking for now. Okay, so now it's looking like this. I forgot to change here the material for this, so let's do that. Shader editor, and then let's do the same with it for the chair right here. So actually I'm going to select the chair, copy these two nodes right here, select this, try to put this right here. There you go. Now I'm also going to select this cube right here, which is the Boolean cube, and hide it in viewport. And now let's increase the strength of this to 100 or maybe more. Now I'm going to select this light, and as you can see, I'm able to see this right here. So I'm going to go to the object properties, visibility, ray visibility, and then disable on transmission so it doesn't appear here on the window. Let me lower the value of this base color right here to something like this. Okay, so I finished up polishing the lighting and all that stuff. Basically, I tweaked a little bit the fog. I changed this light so it's a spotlight. I changed the camera angle and decided to go with a 35mm perspective. I lowered basically the value of this material right here, and also did an interesting technique, which is light linking right here. So instead of both of these lights, which are white lights, instead of them casting lights on everything, on, you know, the room and all that stuff, I only want this to affect all this area right here, the desk and the chair and the character. So basically how I did that is I selected the light right here and went to the object properties, and here in shading and then light linking, I entered all these objects that I wanted to be affected only by this light or something like that, or this light only affects these objects. So yeah, it's a pretty useful technique when you want to achieve these kinds of results. And then I decided to go with a spotlight right here because it was giving me like better atmosphere effects right here, as you can see. So I went with that, and yeah, that's it. Let's start with animation. So let me go here to the timeline and lift this up a little bit, just like this. Now I want to go to camera properties and activate the composition guides center, and let's activate overlays right here. And as you can see, I can see the center right here. So I'm going to go back to solid mode, and now I'm going to press Shift S, cursor to selected, and Shift A, empty, and let's go with a cube. And now let's try to position the origin point from the cube in the center, this guide right here. So I'm going to make a lot of zoom and try to make this. So now what I want to do is select the camera, go to constraints, and add a track 2 constraint, and select the cube right here. And as you can see now, the frame is not going to move or anything like that because I positioned the cube in the center. But now we have this controller right here. So I'm going to add a keyframe right here, pressing I on the camera, and then let's go to the frame 100, and let's just get closer like this, and then press I again, and then select both of these and press linear. And now we have this slow zoom right here. And now from the frame 70 or so, I want to select the camera and press Shift S and cursor to selected, Shift A, and let's add another empty, which is going to be, another sphere. And by the way, let's move all of these empties to the camera collection like this. And now let's parent this camera to this empty right here, Control P and parent object. And now this empty also controls the camera. So now from the frame 70, I'm going to press I again. And I don't know, let's go to the frame 250. And by the way, I'm doing this animation in 1920 by 1080 and 24 FPS. Just because I'm doing a tutorial, probably Fern makes this a lot higher quality, like 4K and maybe 30 FPS. So yeah, now I'm just going to get closer like this and press I, and maybe move this last frame a little bit more to the right, like out of the animation. I'm going to go to the first frame of this empty and then select this cube that controls where the camera is looking and press I. And then let's go to the last frame of this empty. Let's go back to the empty that controls the camera. And now let's try to focus it here on the guy. Let's press I again. And yeah, maybe I want this to be, roughly right here. I again. Let's select the cube and let's lift this up a little bit. I again. And now we will have this effect. First we have this slow zoom, and then slowly we start to have like this slow zoom into the guy. But let's give it like a more interesting effect. So let's add another workspace right here, and let's go to the graph editor and press normalize. And now we have these keyframes right here. I'm going to select the ones from the cube and from the empty. I'm going to select all these keyframes right here, so the start and end keyframes. And then here I'm going to change the pivot point from bounding box center to individual centers. And then I'm going to press S and X to increase the scale of this. And now we will have a more exaggerated effect of a slow ramp up in velocity and then a ramp down in velocity. And let's see how this looks. Okay, for me, it's looking like too slow on the second part. So I'm going to press Ctrl C to undo all the easing we did. And let's just move all these keyframes like here closer, maybe to this part right here. And let's see how that looks. So maybe we make the animation shorter. That's not a problem. Yeah, before previewing all of this, I'm going to select all these keyframes right here and then S, and let's see how this is looking. Yeah, for me it's looking a lot better. So I'm just going to cut the animation at the frame 230. Now what I'm going to do is from this point right here, from 120, I'm going to basically select this light right here, and I'm going to add a keyframe here on the power. And then here on this part right here on the 170, I'm going to turn this light all the way down. So I'm going to add another keyframe. And now at the same time, I'm going to turn these lights into, red lights. So I'm going to add keyframes here on the color, like this, on both of these lights. Then go to the last keyframe of this light right here. And now let's go to the render view. And let's put this in red. And let's copy the hex code to this part right here. And now let's add a keyframe and add a keyframe. Maybe at the same time we can make keyframes on the power. So I'm going to select here the power and then go to the last frame and maybe increase the power to 70, and then another keyframe, and then here to, I don't know, 7, and make another keyframe. So now we have that transition, but now we have a problem, and is that the depth of field is still focusing on this area right here. So what we want to do is roughly right here before the camera starts moving, I'm going to press I on this empty, and then let's go to the last frame, maybe a little bit sooner, 80. And now let's press 7 and G and put this roughly right here, like this, and then I, and now we have that movement. Okay, so here I don't like how the wood from the table is looking, and it's because of this color ramp. So I'm just going to disconnect it, and now it looks good. Okay, so here in compositing, I just added, it's already looking good for me. I just added a little bit of glare and lens distortion. So the glare, I set it up to fog glow, high quality, threshold to 0.6, and smooth to 1, and the size to 1 also, and then the distortion and dispersion to 0.01. And to be able to preview all of the compositing results here in the render view, you just have to click on this arrow, and it's going to be on disabled, and you either put it on camera or always. So I just have it enabled on camera, and now I can see all the compositing things I did. Oh, something pretty important. You have to disable this camera button here on the booleans, because otherwise the cube we did right here is going to appear on the final render. So we have all animation done. Now let's start working on the animation of this character right here. So let's go here to expression and add facial rig, and basically what I want to do is let's activate here the mirror right here, and yeah, basically what I want to do is make him close his eyes, because that's how it looked on the Fern video. And let's make him like this. Okay, now I think everything is looking good. So this is like the preview. Now I'm going to go over some cycle settings and rendering this animation. So I guess I'll try to reduce the max samples but increase the min samples. This is something someone recommended me recently, so I'm just going to try it. If it's not good, then I'm going to re-record this, no problem. Then here on light paths, I'm going to leave it like this, but I'm going to decrease this, although there's not a lot of glass. There's almost any glass in this scene or anything like that. And then I'm going to increase this. Okay, then I'm going to deactivate this. This makes your scene a little bit less realistic on everything about glass and refractive things and all that stuff. In this case, I don't think it's going to make a lot of impact, but let's see. Then I'm also going to activate fast GI approximation and set it up to 2 bounces. Now simplify here, and I'm going to set the texture limit to 4K. Now here in performance, I'm going to activate persistent data, and I think everything else is fine. Let me see. And I'm going to send this job to Superluminal Render Farm. You can render this locally if you want. I just want to get this done fast. But yeah, if you want to render this locally, make sure to go to output and then set it to PNG, color depth to 8 and compression to 15%. And then here select a folder where you want the final frames of your animation to be exported. Once you do that, just go to render and render animation. In my case, yeah, I'm doing this literally on the go. I didn't render like a preview animation or anything like that. So if you don't know Superluminal, I'm going to leave a link in the description. Basically, you will land here and you have to click on start rendering. In my case, I'm already logged in. So this is my account. I'm just going to delete the projects I currently have, and now I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to name it Red Style Video and create project. And now I can select this project inside of Blender. By the way, I have a tutorial and also a comparison on different render farms you can use to animate and speed up render times. So here on my channel you have this video, which is a comparison about all my favorite render farms. But then here on my course about 3D documentary style, where you will learn everything about animating like Fern, Cypher, Imperial and all that stuff, you have a whole section about rendering where I teach you like everything about rendering and also how to use different render farms. And I also teach you how to use Superluminal. This is inside my community render room and you can join for free with the link in the description. And yeah, also if you charge balance here on Superluminal, it will give you an option to add a code. For example, I added a Fern code and it gave me like $10 on my first purchase. And you can do the same but with my code, which is Lucas Edits. So if you type Lucas Edits as your referral code, whatever you charge here, you will receive an extra $10 for free. So yeah, you will have also the link for that in the description. Okay, so now if you go to Blender, you are going to be able to select between your projects. In this case, I just have one, which is the Red Style Video. Now I'm going to check this and yep, this is all good, and now I'm going to submit animation. This is going to appear, I'm just going to wait. Okay, so now it appeared on my browser and as you can see it's running, so let's enter here and let's see how it's going. Okay, so now it's done and it's looking like this. So it has some rough edges. I'll probably just experiment a little bit more and show you the final result, which will have like everything done already. But I just wanted to show you the process. And as you can see, if we go here, the cost was just $2 and the time was just 7 minutes. So really good, really fast and all that stuff. And now if you want to convert everything to an actual animation, you have to do the following. Go back to Blender and now here in the Superluminal add-on, you have to go to manage and download and then refresh right here. And you will have your project right here. So you just have to select it and then select a download path. And once you do that, you just have to click here on download job output. This is going to appear. As you can see, it's pretty fast. Now that it's done, in order to convert it to video, you just have to, well, I recommend you to save your file and then open a new project, a fresh project. And then go to here and click video editing and video editing again. And here in this workspace, first make sure this is good. In my case, it's good. So I'm just going to press Shift A here on the timeline and press image sequence. So here are all my frames. I'm going to press A to select all of them. And then the end frame is going to be 230 and add image strip. And now I have to adjust the end so it's 230. And now here I have my animation. So now I just have to go down right here and change the file format to FFmpeg video. Go to encoding and change from Matroska to MPEG-4 and select here from medium quality to high quality. Then select again a folder. And once that's done, I'm going to go here to render and render animation. So this is the final result. If you like this video, you'll probably like this one. Consider subscribing and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.